Hi, this is Laura at Stitch in Durango with another edition of Tool School. And I'm going to talk to you for a few minutes about why the Bernina L890 is my favorite machine. I have sewing machines. I've had a number of Bernina sewing machines, and this is my favorite machine. This is the top of the line serger, and I don't normally have to buy the top of the line of anything, but let me tell you why I believe this was totally worth buying. Bernina, you know Bernina for the quality of the stitches, the quality of the interface, the ease of use, but the L890 is so easy to use. You don't think of that, kind of looks intimidating. It is a combo serger machine that does a cover stitch and all the overlocker stitches that you're used to. But this screen means that it's got an onboard manual. Since I've had this machine for a couple of years now, I have never needed to open my manual because everything I need to know, I can find out on this screen. When you turn on the machine, it comes to this. You can select your stitch, and this is now in the guided mode. This is what a beginner would use, or if you haven't touched your machine in a year or so, it's going not only to tell you what you need to change, but how you need to change it. Everything from the presser foot pressure, the needle position. It will change the tension for you, the knife, the cutting width, the if you want the upper loop or up and down. It will guide you through every aspect of making the perfect stitch, and how to thread it. It went through how to thread it. And when you're done, you have the stitch with the parameters that Bernina has set for those stitches. Now, I have changed the right needle tension here, and you can do that by pressing the buttons on the front of the machine. Bernina always has those standard things that you need to use right on the front of the machine. And like any other Bernina product, it is letting you know that you have changed that. If you have a machine that does not have this screen feature, you're going to have to remember that you changed the tension. So it's in yellow. I know that I can change it, go back down, or I can press it and take it back to the standard tension. Now you'd say, well, why would you ever need to change the tension? You're on a Bernina with perfect stitch quality. Well, the kind of threads you use, the type of fabric that you're using, the thickness, how many layers of fabric, that is going to affect the way the stitch is formed. And so you have some input in getting it to look exactly how you want on the particular fabric and thread and stitch combination that you've chosen. The other thing, the stitch quality. A Bernina sews better than any other serger I've sewn on. I teach serger classes, and I see different brands at different price points. And one of the things that Bernina has put into this machine, just ease of use qualities. On a lower price point machine by any manufacturer, there's either a little bit of guesswork, a little bit of have I remembered to do all the things that I'm supposed to do to get this to work effectively and safely. This machine takes care of all of that for you. I mentioned that the onboard manual, you don't always have to go through that onboard manual. You can choose, I'm an expert at this. Either I serge every day, or I serge often enough and I have a good enough memory that when you choose another stitch, say a cover stitch, it shows all the things that you need to check and the settings you ought to have them on. So it's going to tell you the needle position, the presser foot that you ought to use, the knife in, out. It's also easy to operate that knife. Some machines, you risk cutting yourself when you're trying to flip the knife up and down. In this, it's off to the side. Your hands don't go anywhere near the knife, but you say, yep, I've done that step. and it will tell you the tension that it is set on. Also, when you turn the machine off and turn it back on again, it remembers these settings because in a serger, needle position, tension, the presser foot that's on there, that can be dangerous if you leave the machine in one stitch and go to another stitch and you have things installed improperly for that stitch. So it is very safe, although it looks kind of intimidating because there's so much you can choose from. It really makes it easy to make the serger do what you want it to, and I do everything on it. I construct knit garments on it. I finish seams on woven garments. I don't usually use it to piece, although a lot of people do. The place that I would really like to use it for piecing is if I've got wildly colored blocks with a white background. Serging it will keep those threads from creeping in, spreading all over the back of your quilt top, and when you quilt it, there's that red thread standing out like, I don't know, a pimple on your butt. But I do use it when I'm binding. I use a fusible thread to sew my binding on. I sew over it again with regular thread because when you iron that fusible thread, it acts like a glue. It's no longer like a thread holding all the layers together, but it means my bindings look perfect because I've pressed them down. I don't have to pin them. I don't have to clip them. My corners are excellent. It's just one of my favorite machines. The most recent little thing that just makes me happy is when you are inserting a needle, there is the little set screw that all sergers have for taking your needle in and out. There's also a little viewing window above that, and you can see if your needle is all the way up in proper position. It's harder on a serger than on a sewing machine to make sure your needles are in the right position because you don't see as much of the needle top as you do on a sewing machine. They're also at different heights. So if you're not serging every day, you might forget that with those two needles in the machine, they're not supposed to be level. But with this little window, you can tell every time that you've got your needle as high up as it will go. It's a safety feature, a stitch quality feature, all sorts of things. Now, why am I talking to you about the L890 right now? Bernina is offering a very special price, the price they're going to offer it at the Houston Quilt Show. They don't do this very often, and they are allowing us to sell it at the Houston Quilt Show price through October 20th. So it will be about $3,500 off. It is $54.99 right now through October 20th. And remember that on October 18th, it is Super Saturday and Bernina financing kicks in. It's just something to consider, but I think the price is the biggest thing. If you never thought the top of the line Bernina serger was for you, I think you ought to consider it. Like and subscribe to this channel. We'd love to see you at Stitch in Durango. If you want to talk some more about why this is my favorite machine, come on by and visit us. Thank you.